Today we will take a look at GoPro Hero 8 Black. Hero 8 is probably the biggest upgrade in the line since Hero 5, with changes on both outside and inside of the device. GoPro definitely needed that because the upgrades in previous generations were basically limited to new frame rates and more effective digital stabilization. In this video we will try to find out how innovative is the Hero 8 Black, how it performs, and whether you should buy one. Starting with the physical aspects, there are 4 main changes on the outside. The first change is extremely positive, and that is the addition of folding mounts or mounting fingers. Using cage with Hero 5 to 7 was a major pain and in my opinion a big weakness of these GoPros, so I'm extremely glad to see integrated mount on Hero 8. Honestly, I would upgrade from Hero 7 to 8 just because of this. The mount itself is pretty solid, but there is a bit of play if you mount Hero 8 on something like shorty handle. Mounting fingers are held in place by magnets when folded, and importantly, they are replaceable. I'm also looking forward to third-party mounting alternatives for replacing GoPro mount with 1/4-inch thread. The second difference is that the battery, SD card and USB-C compartment is now located on the right side of the camera. I am okay with that. If you want to shoot and charge the camera, you have to leave everything opened, which is not ideal, but it is very acceptable price for that integrated mount in my opinion. We no longer have mini HDMI available. I have never used that on GoPro, so I won't miss that. The third difference is that Hero 8 is slightly taller, but the overall package is still smaller because you don't need to use the cage. Unfortunately, that means that you won't be able to use some of the accessories, including some of the gimbals. The last difference is a negative in my opinion, and that is that the lens cover is no longer user replaceable. If you break it, you will have to send it for a repair. You can still use filters like these filters by Freewell. They attach over the stock lens using a very nice cage. These are very good filters optically, so if you want to get that cinematic motion blur or increase the contrast by using the polarizer, it is a very good option. Regarding the image quality, GoPro is continuously improving on that, and I can say that it is very good on Hero 8 Black. It probably still uses 1/2.3-inch sensor, but the lens is new, and I really like the amount of detail that it can capture. Video looks really good straight out of the camera, and it is probably the most detailed video out of all action cameras that I've ever tested. I would still like a bit less sharpening, but that is what general public seems to prefer, so I'm probably okay with that as well. The bitrate on Hero 8 was also increased up to 100 megabits per second in high setting, which is the only one that I use. It definitely makes a difference in scenes with a lot of movement, and it also captures a bit more information for post-production, so thumbs up for this upgrade. New addition are so-called digital lenses. This is just image cropping of course, but it is kind of useful. You have the super view, wide and linear options. Super wide is very wide with a lot of fisheye look. Wide setting is still very wide, but with a lot less fisheye look. Linear is still quite wide with about 19mm full frame equivalent, but there is no fisheye action camera look in this mode. I am a big fan of non-fisheye modes on action cameras, so I am very glad to see linear mode available for the first time in combination with 4K resolution. The dynamic range in GoPro color setting is also pretty high. It can capture a lot of details in both shadows and highlights. If you need to capture more dynamic range, you can do that using flat picture style and adjust the colors in editing. Hero 8 still doesn't have HDR mode. That is something that I really like on DJI Osmo Action and iPhone 11 Pro, so I expect that Hero 8 will have that. I can live without it, but it would be nice to have it on Hero 8. Colors are also a strength of GoPro Hero 8. It produces relatively saturated and vibrant colors, but it is not an overkill like with older action cameras. Automatic white balance also works very well. It is not too warm, so no complaints here either. Not everything is so great though. As I have said, I am a big fan of linear mode, but it significantly crops the frame to the point where you can see the decrease of image quality if you watch the footage on large 4K screen. It is not a big problem on bright days, but when the scene gets a bit darker you will be able to see it. It is not that big of a deal for most use cases, but keep it in mind. The low light is similar to other action cameras, the sensor is still pretty small and f2.8 is not particularly bright aperture, so you will see the noise or loss of detail in low light conditions. The behavior of hypersmooth stabilization was improved though, and I haven't noticed any glitches typical for older GoPros. And that brings us to image stabilization. Hypersmooth 2.0 is probably the feature that gets the most attention in Hero 8 marketing materials, and there is a good reason for that. It is really awesome. Now you have 3 modes that you can choose from: on, high, and boost. Every stage crops the footage more, of course, so basically you have to choose between the field of view and the smoothness. I actually don't mind that because I prefer tighter field of view in most situations. For some situations, it can actually replace the gimbal. The footage is super stable, as you can see. It works particularly well for walking, where I was able to achieve the best results so far. Panning and holding the camera still is not a problem at all, that looks great. Importantly, there is no lag on the screen, which is a huge advantage over DJI Osmo Action, which has significant issues with that. I use high setting most of the time, and if the light conditions are good, I also use boost. As I've said before, stabilization makes a huge difference in overall look of the footage, so I am generally very glad that almost all camera manufacturers are focusing on that, and Hypersmooth 2.0 is a real deal. It is great, so thumbs up for that. It also takes very nice 12 megapixel stills. The amount of detail is very good, the colors are good as well, just like in the video. You can also choose the field of view, but what I don't like is that linear and narrow modes don't work with RAW, there is no distortion correction in RAW, and there is no Lightroom or Luminar profile. The amount of details that you can extract from both shadows and highlights is very impressive though. The display is basically the same as on Hero 7, which is a disappointment. It is still 2-inch 3x2 screen, it is usable, but DJI Osmo Action has much better 2.25-inch screen with 16:9 aspect ratio, so I expected something like that on Hero 8 as well. The front screen is also basically the same. Again, Osmo Action has second forward-facing screen, which is very useful for vlogging, and it is definitely an advantage over Hero 8 Black. It will be possible to buy display mode, which will give you front-facing screen, but if I was a vlogger, I would prefer integrated screen on Osmo Action. The biggest change in terms of the user interface are the new presets. To my own surprise, I found these to be very useful. I have a cinematic setting with flat color and no in-camera sharpening, I have setting for the best footage straight out of camera, 100p setting, 200p setting, and so on. Switching between these is much easier and more convenient than changing all of the settings. The other addition are customizable on-screen buttons that will let you change your most frequently used settings. These are also very practical, but they will obviously obstruct the image. Otherwise, the user interface is very similar to Hero 7, so it is still not great, but not terrible. I still don't like that the modes are switched by pressing the power button. You also still have to wait a couple of seconds before it turns off. Again, Osmo Action has much better user interface, so I expected more improvements on Hero 8, but I can say that it is generally okay on Hero 8. The battery life is similar to Hero 7 Black. It will last about an hour and something of continuous 4K recording. Hero 8 uses new batteries that should allow for higher discharge rate, which may be required when using Hypersmooth 2 with 4K 60p. I have tried that and it worked just fine with old batteries as well. A big upgrade over Hero 7 is the functionality of smartphone app. I've been using it on iPhone 11 Pro and it works great. The connection is very fast, easy and reliable. In comparison with Hero 7 Black, there is much less delay if you use smartphone as a monitor. I'm still not a fan of settings tab, I don't like that you can't see how the settings are affecting the image. I still much prefer DJI Mimo app that is being used with DJI Osmo Action, but at least the lag was reduced. Another thing that was improved on Hero 8 is the sound quality. That is probably the best of all action cameras that I have tested so far. If that is not good enough for you, all of the mods will contain forward-facing shotgun mic. The audio quality with built-in mics is already very good though, so I probably wouldn't buying that just because of the sound quality. So to sum up, GoPro Hero 8 kind of has the same problem as a lot of electronic these days, and that is that it is a mature product. All of the exciting things were already done to Hero series, so now we can only see some tweaks here and there. Hero 8 Black shoots very nice video, the stabilization is excellent, and it has very good sound. For me personally, the integrated mount might still be the biggest upgrade that I will notice every time that I use it. Both front and back screen are disappointing, and so is the user interface. DJI Osmo Action is much better in this regard. Other than that, Hero 8 is a very good action camera and point and shoot camera. Besides the Osmo Action, Hero 8 Black also has very fierce indirect competition such as the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro with ultra-wide camera and DJI Osmo Action. So in the future videos we will also take a look at the comparison with these devices. So that's it for this video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you have found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.